welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Hailie, and if you are not new around here, you might be wondering where I have been the last month. I can't believe it's been a full month since I have last uploaded. It was definitely not my intention to take that amount of time off. I did actually take off like 2 weeks in the beginning of May just because I was feeling a little burnt out. My wedding is next month and things are starting to get very real. There's just so many things on my to-do list, but I was actually working on my very first summer reading vlog in the middle of May, and I read these 4 books, but clearly I never got around to actually posting that video because I didn't actually finish that video. Unfortunately, in the last half of May, there was an incident with my grandfather, and it just really shook up myself and my entire family, and so obviously I was not thinking about vlogging and reading at the time, but it continued to get worse, and I had to book a last-minute flight out to Arizona to go be with my family and support them and my grandfather. And it was just a very scary time. I don't really want to air out all of his medical details out of respect for him and the rest of my family, but it is an issue that is still ongoing, and it's just been very difficult to navigate, and obviously my mind has just not been in the place to hop on social media, so I did take some time off, but I do think that I am ready to jump back in because if I'm honest, I just need something to take my mind off everything else that's going on, and what better way to do so than reading. So sorry to give you a little bit of a downer at the beginning of this video, but I just wanted to let you guys know where I've been. I have not purposely left you guys all behind. It's just been such a difficult month, and especially again as we are inching closer to the wedding as well. It's just all of these things on top of one another, and I just could not be as present as I would like to be. So I hope that you guys understand, but I'm excited to kind of get back into reality. It's been like one of those things where you don't want to do anything, but there's nothing useful or helpful, I guess, in doing that either. So it's like, this will be good for me, and I'm definitely excited to get into my summer books. I actually have a handful of summer books that I'm really excited about. I don't really know which ones I want to read in today's video yet, but I do know that the first one I want to start off today's vlog with is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this one has been on my shelf for so long. This is not a new book. You may have already read this one. This is one of those books that I have picked up multiple times over the past year, and I'm like, ugh, I really got to get around to that book, and then I just never do. But I feel like this could be a good summer read. Tennis, summer, I feel like it goes hand in hand. So I'm gonna give it a go. And if you guys have read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, there's a little Carrie Soto cameo in this book, which really got me interested in this one because I don't know anything about tennis. I don't really even care about tennis, but everybody that has read this book is like, you don't need to, because Carrie Soto herself is just an interesting character on her own. So I'm excited to get a little bit more background about Carrie Soto. All I know is she's a tennis player, and she comes out of retirement after another tennis player beats her record. So she's trying to set the record straight. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. Obviously, I've been very hesitant to start it, but it is time. While I'm here, and since my last video that I started filming will never see the light of day because it was just so choppy and chaotic. There was so much going on in the middle of that week that I started filming it. I was like, I can't post this. It's no. I ended up reading This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, and oh my goodness, I cannot rave enough about this book. I think her book Every Summer After is still my favorite by her, but I do think that this one is better, or I like it more than, what is it called? Meet Me at the Lake. And I like this one, obviously. Look at all those annotations. This was a very spicy read, so if you're not usually into that one, this might not be for you, but it was a very saucy, summertime, fun book. And there's a lot more to it than just like the relationship, because the main character in here, her best friend, I already forgot her name, Bridget. Their bond is amazing. I loved reading about their friendship. This one, I never do like 0.5 stars because if I can't put it on Goodreads, I just don't like to. But this one, I could not decide if I wanted to do 4 or 5 stars, so I did 4.5. Either way, I would highly recommend this one on your summer TBR. It was so cute. It was amazing, and I love the love interest Felix. Apparently he's based off like a real guy in Prince Edward Island, so if any book sleuths have figured out who that man is, I would like to know. The other one that I ended up reading was Bad Summer People, and this one I was really excited for last year, but I didn't get around to it in time, so I started it obviously last month, and it's very short. It's like 260 something pages, but unfortunately this one just did not do it for me. It promised like a lot of salacious gossip, and there's like a murder in the prologue that is just not spoken about until like the last few pages of the book. It does not really come up, so that was weird. Like, it did not need to be there. It's like the author forgot that they killed someone off and was like, oh god, I need to wrap that up. And the drama, the gossip, it was just a little dry. It was boring. It's just like everybody in the town is sleeping with everybody else. I don't know. This one, it just wasn't my fave. The writing was a little all over the place, and it's one of those books where you get the point of view of everybody, like all of these side characters, and it's like, I don't really need to know this random man's inner monologue. Then it ends up repeating the story that you just read in the last person's point of view so that you can see it through the eyes of the other person, so it was very repetitive, and no. I ended up giving this one 2 stars. I did not enjoy it personally. Actually, I did read Summer Sisters by Judy Blume, which I've never read any of her adult novels, and this was actually, I think it was the 25th anniversary of this book, something crazy. And at first, I liked it a lot because it was reminding me a little bit of Mary Jane. I love this book. Add this one to your summer TBR. The main character is sort of like adopted into like the cool girl's family and spends summers with her, and is introduced to this whole new lifestyle that her conservative family would not expose her to normally. But then it just kind of veered off track, and it got a little weird for me. I don't know, but it also had the point of view of everybody ever in this book, and it was just, it didn't work for me either. But I did give this one 3 stars because at least the story was a little bit more interesting to me than Bad Summer People. But this is definitely not one of those books that I'd be like, oh my gosh, you need to read this book. It was just fine. And the last one, I found this pretty randomly at Barnes & Noble. It was just like on one of the front tables, so I guess it's just a brand new release, but obviously, Wedding on the Brain, I was like, I need to pick this one up. This is You May Now Kill the Bride by Kate Weston. So it is a little murder mystery thriller. This one revolves around a childhood group of like 5 friends, and 2 of the girls are getting married, but the first one ends up dropping dead at her bachelorette party, and so all of her bridesmaids and everybody at this bachelorette ends up being suspects. The second girl that's getting married in the next few weeks is like, well, the show must go on. This is my dream wedding. I'm not tossing that aside because my friend died. So she continues to have her own wedding festivities, and people just continue to drop dead at those events. So all eyes are on this tight-knit group of friends, and it's like, which one of you is doing this? What's going on? What is the motive here? This was actually a pretty fun book, a pretty light thriller. If you've read One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose, it's kind of like that sarcastic sort of writing. All of the women in this book are very over the top, and it just made it a lot of fun to read. So I did also give this one 3 stars because I don't know, I feel like that's pretty good for a thriller. So all in all, I had some decent summer reads so far. The You May Now Kill the Bride is not necessarily summery. I just kind of added it on in there, but this one is by far my favorite. So I am excited to see what is in store this week. I'm gonna go ahead and dive on into Carrie Soto is Back right now and see how much I can wrap up today. Now I am officially ready. Okay, I've made a pretty decent dent in this book so far, and I'm actually liking it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I am on page 94 right now, and Carrie is just now entering her comeback era and starting to train for tennis. She's 37 now, and apparently that is like decrepit in the tennis world because they are acting like she is ancient. So she has a lot of work to do to try to keep up with everybody else in the tennis world at the moment. And yeah, so that is currently unfolding. But in the beginning of this book, we get like her childhood upbringing and her dad being her coach. This version of Carrie, like we only get a little blurb of Carrie Soto in Malibu Rising. And for some reason, maybe I'm just misremembering because I read Malibu Rising like 2 years ago. So I don't remember her being this like brutish. Like she's very rude and mouthy and like rough around the edges. And like even her appearance, how it's described in this book, is not what I was imagining. And I don't know why. I don't know if I just made this all up in my head when I was reading Malibu Rising. For some reason, I don't know. This is not how I pictured her. It is interesting because like the Malibu Rising crossover is just such a short blurb in this book, which is fine. Like Malibu Rising, it's its whole other book, but for some reason, I thought that was going to be a far bigger story. And yes, it is extremely tennis heavy because that is her entire life. Like from birth till now, tennis is her life. It is her whole world. It is the entirety of this book, but as a tennis, not a hater. I'm not a tennis hater. I have no interest in tennis. I'm still finding this interesting. So yeah, that is my update. I like it a lot and I'm very curious to see where this is headed, like what her comeback is going to look like, because it seems like the odds are just completely stacked against her right now. So we shall see, but I'm making good progress. I just finished Carrie Soto Is Back, and honestly I really enjoyed this one so much more than I thought I was going to. I kind of did not listen to all of the people that were like, oh my gosh, it's so good, you don't really need to know anything about tennis, which, let me just reiterate, it is extremely tennis heavy. Like there's a lot of tennis terms and things in here, but I didn't really feel left out or like super confused. I mean, with some things I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it didn't affect the story, I guess. So I should have listened to you guys. Carrie Soto herself is not a super likable character. You do have like some side characters. Like I really enjoyed her agent Gwen and her father Javier, and then there's also like a little bit of like a romance situation going on in here. And even some of her opponents mentioned I found very interesting, especially obviously Nikki Chan, which is like one of her biggest rivals in her comeback era. I really enjoyed all of the characters in here, and although Carrie is not extremely likable, like she's very blunt, very straightforward, like does not care about anyone's feelings, you still find yourself rooting for her and wanting to see her continue to succeed. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I would definitely recommend it, and honestly I should not have doubted it because I really enjoy all of the other Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I have read, which weirdly enough, I have not read Daisy Jones and the Six. I don't know how I've come this far and avoided this book, but maybe I need to get to that one. Anyways, I'm definitely glad I finally got around to reading that book and checking it off my TBR, but now I'm going to start Christina Lauren's newest book, and this is actually my book club's pick for June. So we're reading this in my book club right now. This one sounds like a lot of fun, and I do already have high hopes for this one because Christina Lauren are another pair of writers that I also really enjoy. This one is described as a delicious new romance between the buttoned-up heir of a grocery chain and the free-spirited artist as they fake their relationship in order to receive a massive inheritance. The setup just sounds so good. Like I think this one is going to be so good. But basically, Anna and Liam got married in college for housing benefits, and once they were done with college, Anna was under the impression that the divorce or annulled, I'm not sure. I think you have to annul like right after the marriage, but I don't know these things. Anyways, 3 years later, Anna is a starving artist living paycheck to paycheck while Liam is in Stanford as a professor. And he's actually set to be one of 4 heirs to the Weston Foods conglomerate, but due to an antiqued clause in his grandfather's will, Liam can't claim the money until he's been happily married for 5 years. And now, years later after their divorce, Liam has to introduce his family to the one person he's been afraid to, his unpolished, not so ex-wife. So we do have a little bit of a fake dating or fake marriage plotline in here, and that's a trope that I always enjoy. So again, I think I'm gonna like this one. This one is about 336 pages, so hopefully I can get through it pretty quickly. I will say, I forgot to mention with this one, I think it went on a little bit longer than it needed to. This one is also like 364 pages, which is not a long book by any means, but it did not have to be as long as it was. So I'll keep you guys updated on my thoughts with this one. I would like to finish it by tomorrow evening, but we'll see.
I'm getting older, but I still can't read a vibe. 'Cause my world is on fire, but we're saying we're doing fine. I never thought I'd make it here.
Today is Friday. I started this book on Wednesday, so I did not finish it yesterday like I wanted to. I actually only listened to it on audio yesterday. I didn't have time to actually sit down and read, so I listened to it on audio on Spotify actually while I cleaned up and did some things around the house. And I am not huge on audiobooks. I feel like sometimes the voices are distracting. And this one, I really like Anna. Like, as a character in general, I love Anna. She is such a cool character, like very quirky, pink hair girl. I adore her, and the voice in the audiobook I also like. I feel like it just channels the vibe of the actual Anna character really well. But the Liam voice is so weird, like kind of robotic and stiff at times, which I guess Liam is kind of stiff and like, I don't know. Sometimes I really like him as a character, other times I'm like, you're kind of annoying, but I get it. His family is fucking crazy. I hate his family. But anyways, Liam's voice in the audiobook, it is insane to listen to because there's like female dialogue that he's reading, and it sounds exactly like Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch. I have to see if I can play it because it's nuts.
The nape of my neck. I think this dress is the most inexpensive thing Vivi packed, and yet it's my favorite. I can see why. My dad, definitely. My mom is short, has blue eyes and blonde hair. My hair's naturally brown. Eyes brown. She laughs.
So all I picture is Pleakley, like dressed up on the island, because they are on like a private island right now, dressed up in like the full garb. Like, that's all I picture. It is so funny. But anyways, I love this book, and when I was reading it Wednesday night, it took me like 40-ish pages or so to be like, okay, I'm into this. I'm like, I want to keep going, which isn't necessarily like a slow start. Like 40 pages is still the beginning, but I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. And right now I love it. I actually just got to the climax. I've still been listening on audiobook, so I'm not exactly sure. I think I'm on chapter 30, so I'm about to switch over. But I just got to like the climax, the big and I have no idea how it's going to end. It's very stressful. But yeah, Liam's family is like this insane, like billionaires. They own a grocery store chain, like they have a ton of money, and they suck. Like, they are evil rich people, specifically the dad. He has a brother, Jake, that's like a nice character in here, and they're at the younger sister Charlie's wedding, which is so over the top, by the way. It's insane. But the mom and dad are so, they make me so angry. I hate the dad. So it's extremely frustrating. But I am going to finish this book today, so I gotta get to it. It's almost 1 p.m. I'm going to switch over to read it in the actual book instead of audiobook because I can definitely read faster than the audio can read it to me. So we'll see how long this takes to finish. Those are my Amazon returns. Pay no mind. A really lengthy epilogue, but very cute. And it's 2:07, so I finished it pretty quick. So my official review, I really liked this book. It was really, really cute, and again, I loved Anna. I loved her as a character, and although I was like iffy about Liam, or not just completely obsessed with Liam, I guess, I liked them as a duo. They balance each other out so well because they are just from totally different worlds, and just like the opulence of this wedding that they were at on this private island, and like this life that they live as billionaires. It's unfathomable. Because on the complete other side of things, she just got fired from her job as a convenience store clerk. She's scraping by trying to pay for her dad's medical bill, and she lives in an apartment in LA with not much to her name. So they just are on complete opposite sides of the spectrum here, because Liam would never have to worry about paying for anything at all. Whatever he wants, he can have it. I like this one a lot. I kind of want to give it 5 stars. It is the perfect rom-com fake dating trope that I love so much. And I love to read about snobby rich people. Yeah, this one was a banger. Highly recommend. I have no idea what the heck I'm gonna read next that's going to follow this up, but I guess we should go figure that out. Okay, I narrowed it down to these 3 books because I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I think this one, The Garnet Girls, is going to be a little bit of a sad literary fiction, and The Glow is more of like a satirical fiction, kind of making fun of, I think, influencer culture, but also like the skincare beauty industry. So that could be kind of fun. But I also got this one in, and it's an ARC copy of The Summer Club. So this actually comes out next month. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I feel like I am curious about The Garnet Girls. Should I see how long each of these books are? Maybe that will help me decide. This one is 322 pages, 316, and 307. So this one is the shortest, and I do want to finish this one by the weekend. I guess it really comes down to, do I want something sad or something a little bit more sarcastic and light, or something about a small town and the residents in that town struggling? I'm not actually sure what this one's about. You know what? I think I am going to do The Glow because I like this cover. I do kind of want something a little bit silly. So The Glow it is, our final book for today's video. This one is about a desperate young publicist that tries to save her career by turning the charismatic leader of a grungy retreat center into the hot new self-care brand in this wildly funny laser-eyed debut novel. So this is a debut. Let me know if you guys are interested in either of these 2 books. I can do a follow-up summer reading vlog. We got a lot of summer ahead and a lot of summer books to read as well, so. I'm only on chapter 2 so far, page 21, but I have to read you guys this paragraph because it is so relatable. I feel like all of us can relate to this in some way. The main character of this book is a PR girly. She works at a PR firm, I guess. So she does PR for multiple brands, different products. So right off the bat, Jane is incredibly relatable to me, but I think everybody that is a big consumer in the social media space. This paragraph says, Jane suspected that seeing so much manicured beauty all at once, unbroken, but for the internal misery of her own human condition, was warping her in some fundamental way. The only beauty secret was a combination of genetics and money, but if you looked at enough beautiful faces, sometimes you could convince yourself that yours could be in the mix with a little tweaking. You forgot what you looked like even. Which is one thing that I have been struggling with a lot on social media. Just the sheer amount of perfection that you see constantly on social media. Like, I could open up my Explore page right now and it is the most beautiful girls living the most beautiful lives, having these lavish weddings. My Instagram knows that I'm getting married, and so it's just feeding me a bunch of weird wedding reels that are just so over the top and insane, and then it makes me feel so shitty about choosing like a resort all-inclusive package and having like a lame wedding, even though I know it's not lame. I'm just like in such a comparison mindset right now. Like, I just keep comparing my house or my clothes or my body to everybody that I am seeing on social media, and we know that this affects our brain negatively, but I just cannot stop. Like, I just go on my Explore page and I'm like, wow, why doesn't my life look like that? Why doesn't my hair look like that? Why doesn't my closet look like that? So excuse the little rant here, but I just felt this in my bones, and she's speaking more specifically about like the beauty standards on social media, which is a whole topic in itself, but it is just insane the amount of content that we consume on a daily basis, and it is just so hard not to compare yourself and your life and just everything to other people, even though deep down you know that it's not all real. I get so caught up in it sometimes, especially being a creator on social media, I am always comparing like my content and like what I'm putting out, and I'm like, oh my god, I suck. I should quit my job. Ugh, I have such a hard time with it. So anyways, rant over. I'll leave you guys alone, but I just felt this paragraph in my bones, and I can assume that there is much more where that came from. So I'm already very excited about this book because it just makes me feel seen. Okay, I am back with an update and back on this couch because I just kind of sit here and rot for hours. I feel like this whole vlog has been sat on this couch. I am about halfway through. I think I'm actually over halfway. Yeah, I'm on page 175, and I really like this book. Like I mentioned earlier, Jane and just what she does, I can relate to a lot of it, and also like she has a very cynical side to her, which I can also definitely relate to. Jane is a very funny and very neurotic character. I love her so much, and I am rooting for her on this journey of creating this bizarro wellness space that honestly, if created here, would thrive. Her little jabs and like observations about the wellness space in general are so completely accurate. It's hilarious, and like, yes, this is satirical, but there is so much truth to what she is saying, and only about 100 something pages, so I'm definitely going to knock out the rest of this book this afternoon and give you guys my final thoughts. I just finished up reading The Glow, and honestly, I didn't love the second half of this book as much as I loved the beginning. This is one of those books that's kind of plotless and more character driven, which I really enjoy. It's similar to The Guest by Emma Cline, or like Worry, also similar, where it has like an equally disappointing ending as these two. It doesn't really wrap up in a satisfying way, and I have so many questions. I would compare it to Goop, that whole world of like wellness and skincare. But if you enjoy like more so stream of consciousness writing with like a unhinged millennial woman as the main character, I think that you would enjoy this one. I thought it was very, very funny. Overall, I think that I would give this one 3 stars just because there were certain points where I felt like it dragged on, but I definitely still had a good time reading it, and honestly, this week in books was pretty great. These are all very different reads from one another, but I enjoyed every single one of them so much. My favorite was definitely The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. That one was just the perfect summertime romance, fake dating or fake married sort of trope. I love this one. I love the character, but I would recommend any of these books this week. And if you have been on the fence with Carrie Soto Is Back and not sure if you wanted to start it, that's how I felt for so long, and I loved this book, so I would definitely give it a chance. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what your thoughts were, and also what you guys would like to see me read for my next reading vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys again soon.